Hello everyone, I'm Fang Bo. In this lesson, I'll teach you about counter looping. This is a popular technique that many people enjoy. In major competitions, counter looping rallies often appear, and the rallies are usually very long, with lots of movement. It's also something audiences love to watch. So how do we practice counter looping? Firstly, counter looping has the same basic structure as a forehand loop. You don't need to make too many adjustments. You just need to make your movement slightly larger. Because counter looping is done farther from the table, unlike a regular loop which is usually closer to the table, the distance from the table in counter looping depends on the size of your movement. The larger your movement, the further you'll need to stand from the table. And the further back you are, the larger your movement needs to be. At the same time, the arc of the shot will need to be longer than usual. Only by increasing your looping movement can you achieve these results. Next is the legs. Your leg and waist movement range should be larger than usual. If it's too small, you won't generate enough power, which will result in shorter and weaker shots, giving your opponent a stronger sense of pressure. So to counter your opponent effectively, you must increase your forward movement. This will improve the quality of your counter loops. There are actually two types of counter looping. One is from a far distance from the table, where you increase the spin significantly. For example, in past matches, like those of Malin, at critical moments, they increase spin and rotation greatly. Why? First, it's safer. And second, it increases the chances of the opponent making mistakes when you add more arc to the ball, as long as it doesn't go too high. And you increase the spin while keeping the arc lower, the ball will dip down more sharply. As soon as it hits the table, if you ripped it, it will jump forward, right? But when you increase friction, the shot will drop downward. It drops while traveling, right? Although it doesn't overpower the opponent, it dips down and forces the opponent to adjust. It also increases the risk if they try to counter loop. So adding spin is a good option during a topspin rally. How to add spin effectively? When adding spin, you need to lower your center of gravity. Only with more vertical power, right? Can you produce stronger spin? If you try to add spin while standing with a higher center of gravity, it's hard to get a strong arc. You can only rip it only by lowering your center of gravity and bending your knees and keeping your waist down, right? Can you make a spinning loop? When do we see this? In a topspin to topspin rally? When one player adds a lot of spin and keeps the shot low. If your shot stays low, it becomes difficult for the opponent to counter loop. The lower the ball, the more they'll have to crouch down and match your spin. In this situation, both players may start adding spin and arc. This is common in matches. Both players are focused on controlling the arc to counter each other. Then ripping rally. For example, between me and Fang Chi, maybe neither of us would use much spin. We'd just ripping back and forth, and it'd be about who has more power, who can cover more ground, and who has better placement. That's what we'd compete on. Let me demonstrate what a spin-focused rally looks like in a match. You see? This is what I was showing. A spin-focused rally in a match, where both players have a low center of gravity. In this scenario, there's more spin applied, and relatively less impact force. Remember this, it's a combination of impact and spin. Don't rely solely on spin. Try to keep a balanced approach. If you only use spin, the shot quality will be very low and will keep a very low center of gravity with more upward power. For a ripping rally, we tend to use more impact force with a forward driving motion, mainly adding a little spin for stability, but focusing primarily on impact. The emphasis is on impact. Don't overuse spin here. Otherwise, you'll lose shot quality and penetration. The more impact you use, the more forward power you generate, the more spin you use, the more vertical force it will have. When you see players in a ripping rally, there's very little spin, making it exciting to watch. Which technique suits you better? That's for you to figure out. Of course, mastering both spin-based loops and rips is ideal. This gives you more versatility in matches. Knowing which balls are best for spin-based loops and which are better for ripping will make you a strong player.